Here we go. I found this cool video by this cool gentleman who is, I would say young, because he's young compared to me. He's 7 years my junior, but he's not that young. But he does need a dad to tell him what's happening. So I am here to help. Presumably. Let's listen.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Hello.
I wanted to make this video today because, as you could tell from the title, the last 18 months have been some of the most unproductive days of my life. Even compared to my childhood, when I would run out into the forest and spend all day climbing trees or watching cartoons. Even compared to being a young adult where I would get high with my friends and play video games all day, somehow that felt more meaningful.
Let's stop on this real quick. Meaningful. That's the word you need to keep right here in your mind. Meaningful, that is the word as we progress in this video.
Than the last 18 months. And it's very difficult to pinpoint what this feeling is. There's a malaise that's come over me that is pretty overwhelming. And I'm not sure what it is exactly. I know.
I'll tell you what it is. So here's what's going on. When we are born, we have two time frames that we can look at. Imagine, okay, let me see if I can clarify this. So imagine a line. That line is your life. And let's say this is where, oh wait, I'm backwards on the internet. There. Let's say this is where we start, right? So when we start, the only places we can look are here and that way. So present and forward, right? As then you move across this line, with my little thumb over here, whoop, there we go, a little thumb, right? You start being able to see that way in the past. The problem is that as you're young, that way is very little and very unimportant, and you're also not mature enough to think that that way is important. And then as you progress across the line, you get to about where you are right now, it's about in the middle, okay? Now, there is 50%, and there is a potential 50%, and you're bang on in the middle, right here. So, as you're starting to progress more and more of that becomes more important. And so you're starting to look backwards and go like, so I've done all of these things. And then you go, what for? And you go, I don't know. So you can go into the gym and get buff and learn loads of skills. That's the present. That's the thumb over here, right? And that may very well give you satisfaction. But the moment in which you're introspective, that direction is less and less important as you age, and that direction is more and more important as you age. So I've come down to the realization that by the end of my life, when I'm over here, right, what's important is that the only thing I'll be able to do is look that way. And as I look that way, I'm going to say, okay, that was all right. And then I can expire. That's become the goal of my life. That's a very different goal than the goal I had when I was here, which was build things, do things, build things, move on, do things. Because I was only looking that way. This is what's happening to you.
Know that it has to do with being disillusioned to the rat race. I feel like I successfully avoided it for the better part of a decade.
I want to really quickly stop here. I'm not going to interrupt you all the time, but I have to because otherwise things get taken down, whatever. Anyway, the point is I am deeply irritated at the miseducation of individuals. The word rat race, I know what you mean by it. You know what you mean by it. What you don't know what you mean is I think you're going to use this terminology later, the opportunity cost of giving up on that. And the opportunity cost of having the mentality of deliberately giving up on that. Rat race is a cliche. Your parents and grandparents didn't engage in a rat race. They tried to build themselves up. You can call it a rat race if you want. It's not, though. It's a rat race for lifers. It's not a rat race for ambitious people. So, which you sound like you are.
And then I came back to the United States after living in China, and I sort of made a conscious decision to be a part of it. And I feel like that might have been one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made.
Incorrect, but you'll see why in a moment.
I got into the software industry, and I've now been laid off 4 times in 5 years. And the last software layoff was 18 months ago, and I've had 5 or 6 part-time jobs in the meantime. Most of that 18 months I was living off of my savings, which practically don't exist anymore. And
I can relate to this. I am also tapping into my savings real heavy because of the decisions I want to make at this point in my life, and they may very well be wrong. But it is what it is. So I'm not speaking from some kind of like perch or some kind of pulpit where I can say, oh yeah, I'm really rich and really comfortable. I'm not. I'm actually quite uncomfortable financially right now, for a similar reason to your own. Vice versa though, not because I went into the rat race and, as the terminology used just were clear, not because I went into employment and then I was laid off. I never got laid off ever in my life. I've always left. But leaving deliberately to then do something else I wanted to do, and that thing that I wanted to do not producing any revenue, that's what's digging into that. On top of it, it's something you are about to experience, young man. Presumably you have a family, right? You are about to transition at an age in which you're going to have to start taking care of your parents. And by taking care, I don't mean, every now and then getting them groceries. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like spending meaningful time and spending meaningful money looking after them. My father, for example, has dementia, is in a home. I pay for their home. We're talking very significant money per month. Yeah, that's going to hit you sooner than you think.
it's a weird feeling because I feel like I've always been winging it and it's always worked out for me.
But that's how everything works. You wing it and it works out. If you don't wing it, it doesn't even happen.
And recently, winging it isn't working out. And it's difficult to not hold it against myself. There's a big part of my
I approve of this message.
brain that's blaming me. All the normal stuff. Like, there's the imposter syndrome where I feel like I'm not good enough to be part of the software industry and that's why I got squeezed out. There's part of me that thinks, well, if I had just worked harder, if I had studied harder, if I had not let up. Realistically, I mean, I was studying 16 hours a day. I put in over 1,500 hours in my first 5.5 months, and that was to break into the industry. I couldn't have worked harder. But then once I got a stable job...
Yeah, but I mean, what you're doing is you're changing careers. Every time you change careers, this sort of self-education is just part of the process. I mean, you are not trying to enter a base level job here, right? You're not entering the software industry through QA, as an example. You could go into QA now. I mean, maybe right now it may be a difficult time for the industry in and of itself. Granted, fair enough. Plus, probably loads of QAs done in India or whatever by now. But the point is, QA is a starting place. That's where I entered that industry, right? And then every time I wanted to change career, not only did I have to work my daily job, whatever it was, plus all of the overtime that it would require, I would train myself both on the job and off the job right after to learn some skills that would allow me to progress in a certain direction. This is when you're young, you have the energy and the will to do this sort of thing. I might be foreshadowing.
job, I fell back to only working 50 hours a week. And frankly, I'm sort of just a B average student. And in an industry where there's hundreds of thousands of unemployed engineers, I suppose being a B average student isn't good enough. I recently failed, not recently, it was like 6 months ago. I failed an interview for Apple. And I got, I want to say like an 88% on the first test they sent me. And needless to say, a B plus isn't good enough to work at Apple. So I'm blaming myself, but I know that I don't deserve all of the blame. And
I don't know what that means. I mean, you're the only actor in your own life. Of course you deserve all of the blame. you're dealing with the cards you have. You may have made a poor decision in going into this particular industry. Should have asked me, I would have told you not to. It's tremendously oversaturated, so you're going to have the problem that you're competing with everybody else who is amazing. And then you have some other problems, like for example, you're a bit male and a bit ginger and a bit white. Not ideal nowadays, I'm sorry. Sorry. Everything wrong with you, my dude. You even have hairs on your chest. What's happening here? No bueno.
There's something paralyzing about it. It's not necessarily depression, and it's not necessarily self-pity or blame, but it's more like it almost feels like I betrayed myself.
It is the rule of the thumb. I've invented this new thing. The rule of thumb. This thumb. The thumb in the middle of your life. That one. That's the rule. You're looking there and going like, oh boy, what's back there? That's what's going on.
When I was younger, I told myself that I would never play the rat race. I knew that the only way to win was to not get involved. And so I became obsessed with investment, and I became obsessed with finding niches that I could get into where I would make a ton of money for a very small amount of work, and I would live in very cheap places like China where I would have a fantastic quality of life. I was working like 90 minutes a week in China. I would have 6 months of paid vacation a year, yada, yada, yada. I could go on and on about the benefits. But deciding to be part of the rat race really feels like I betrayed myself.
That doesn't make any sense, young fella. While you're being introspective, and I appreciate it, and hopefully the people watching you appreciate it as much as I do, something's off in your analysis. It doesn't make any sense. We are missing one fundamental element, which is why you decided to return. I mean, if it's true that you were able to live in such extreme comfort as you were, and but even actually accepting the possibility that that's hyperbole to some extent, which it probably is. But let's just give you the benefit of the doubt that you're purely and perfectly honest. Okay? Surely something made you want to come back. What is that? I mean, you'll touch on it vaguely, but what is that? I mean, I wouldn't be reacting to this if I didn't think it was meaningful, so I'm looking forward to getting that out of your head. Possibly being wrong, but that'll be your judgment.
And now it's been 5 years since I've been back from China. It's been 18 months since I've had an engineering job. And I'm sort of starting over. And it's not something that I'm unfamiliar with, but I'm suddenly extremely aware of my age.
Bingo. Well, not bingo. Partial bingo. But yes, there's the thumb. The rule of thumb. I don't have fancy graphics. That's me graphics. The thumb. This one. The one in the middle. You are now aware that you are aging and you're starting to become aware of your mortality. Welcome to midlife. Or past midlife, really.
I'm 33. About exactly halfway through.
Do you know that by the age of 33 I had 1, 2, 3. I think it's 3 children. How old is Mel now? Yeah, I had 3 children.
My 33rd year. And I'm suddenly realizing that if I want family, if I want kids, if I want a wife who can stay home with the kids, I'm suddenly facing a financial dilemma that can't be solved in any reasonable terms.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's hear it.
And perhaps if I had some extremely high-paying skill to fall back on, if I was like an electrician, I could just go do that.
You know, a real job, the one thing that we decided not to do. Oh, man. The future so belongs to technicians. Like people who do things with their hands. I won't be there to see it, but I'm looking forward to that future. Well, I'm hoping it comes.
But my entire work history is the food service industry, education, and software. Software doesn't want me. Even when I offer to work for free as an unpaid intern, which is the most insulting, when I'll go through a 7-round interview with a company who's considering paying me 140 or 160 grand. And at the end of the interview, they admit to me, yeah, you didn't do anything wrong. We would hire you, but we only have 2 open positions and we got 300 applicants, and there's literally dozens of people who did better than you.
My friend, what you need is you need to know people. The interviews you can shove right up where the sun don't shine. Interviews are a terrible way of getting a job, especially nowadays. It looks like you need to go and meet somebody. Then you can make things happen. I am potentially going to score a new contract, again, in software engineering like you, relatively soon. The only reason why this is happening is because I talk directly to the CEO of this particular company. Because I've participated on a project with him before and he was satisfied with what I did. My CV does not reflect my skills. My CV, in fact, looks messy. Everything is weird in my CV because the CV is terrible at measuring drive and IQ. These are the 2 things that the CV cannot measure. Well, there's probably more things as well, but drive in particular I think would be the key, the most important thing. How hard do you work to get a project from point A to point B? What are you willing to sacrifice to do it, etc., etc., etc. The moment in which I hear you, I mean, this is an aside and it probably doesn't apply to you at all because you sound driven, but the point is still worth making, I think, for a younger person. The moment in which I hear a younger person talk about being interested in going on holiday or not living the rat race, etc., and then potentially having 3 or 4 degrees, that is the one person I would never want to hire. Now that's like I said, this is an aside, it's got nothing to do with you, but it just popped into my mind, so I thought I'd say it. Anyway, yeah, so if you want a job in the software industry, you need to know people. If you don't know, in any industry really, but in the software industry in particular, if you don't know people, I don't think you're going to land anything. Especially for an individual who has changed careers like you have. And especially for a person that, looks the way you do. Terribly sorry. Modern day. In the modern day, if you know someone, you bypass all of the stupid HR systems. If you don't bypass the laws and the HR systems, well, enjoy being unemployed.
So we can't justify hiring you. And then I respond to them, well, how about I work for you for free for the next 4 months or 6 months? And then maybe you just consider hiring me at the end of that. And they say no. It's like, you were just considering paying me 140 grand and you won't take my work for free.
Yeah, well, you're using logic, which is admirable, but there is no even guarantee that that particular job opening was really actually advertised for. Like, for example, the advertisement and the interview process and everything like that could be a complete sham, simply because the law forces you as a company to hire externally, while you may already know exactly that you want to hire Mike's cousin or something. So, no comment. I don't know, obviously, but don't take it too personally and don't use logic with HR. It's ridiculous.
Free now? Software industry doesn't want me. Even a good teaching job in America, you've instantly entered poverty.
Okay, let's clarify this real quick. I'm going to piss off some teachers here. Couldn't care less. So teachers are people who can't work. They are the rejects of business. Okay? Nowadays, in particular, I think the teacher position and concept is absolutely under fire. And there will be no chance of it recovering. Especially now that AI is going to become a thing. Like, AI is incredibly capable of spitting out information, and it's now competent at making logical arguments as well. So you can literally have a teacher for almost completely free that doesn't exist. And that teacher knows everything. What is valuable still, and always has been, is a mentor. That's different. But teachers, people that stand in front of other people talking about rubbish. What I'm doing right now is teaching. What he's doing right now is teaching. And we both, him much better than me, have an audience of some level that is listening to what we have to say. That's teaching. It's valueless. So it's obvious that it's underpaid. Nobody cares.
Good teaching job is like 50 grand a year. That's instantly hand to mouth.
It's not, but whatever. Could go live somewhere else, couldn't you? to lower your costs. Where do you live? Do you live in the middle of a city? Well, then all of your costs are going to go up. Do you live in America where you have property tax like the good little Soviet little apparatchiks that you all are? Well, you may want to consider moving. I don't know. The whole taxation issue is always going to be a problem. You're going to live hand to mouth no matter how much you earn, unless you're a very, 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 very wealthy person.
Living as a single healthy man who lives cheaply. I eat a lot of canned food. My diet is mostly milk and eggs. I would immediately be in poverty just living alone as a teacher in America. Not to mention that teachers get treated like shit. So that's not an option. And in the food service industry, even a well-paying job in the industry is necessarily a dead-end job because it's such a grind and it's so abusive that you have to be young and healthy, and it helps if you're abusing drugs. So much of the industry is. But I'm 33 and I have a severe back injury. I can't do 14-hour days in the restaurant anymore like I used to be able to. I actually, right after I got laid off, I went back into the industry because that's my safety net, the food service industry. And my back simply wasn't recovering between shifts, and I knew that if I continued doing this, I'd end up in a wheelchair. So my previous history means nothing.
That's always true.
Investment only matters insofar as you can contribute, and if you have no income, you can't contribute to your investments. And quality of life in America relies on you making substantially more than the national average.
Arguably true. I don't really know. It's hard to say. I don't live in the US and I never would, because the US would force me to remove... for me to get the US citizenship, I would need to renounce all the others I have. So that's an unacceptable proposition. Also, US likes to tax its own non-residents when they leave, which is also irritating. If the US was what it was, then it would be an absolutely attractive proposition to go live there. It isn't. The only thing that's attractive about America is that Americans are in it. Your government is awful. Local and central. Your cost of living is skyrocketing as of late, but it has been high for a long time. I don't know.
I apologize, I'm sick right now.
No big
The
deal.
national average is like 50 grand. You need to make double that to get the benefits of living in America. And if you want a family and you don't want your wife to work, triple that would be the bare minimum.
Well, let me be clear to you, young fella. I have never... No, incorrect. I have for 2 years of my life ever made more than 50. Yeah, 2 years of my life. And, oh no, I haven't, because after tax I haven't. Like 55k Canadian, and that's just after income tax. It's not enough to make 50k US. I have never in my life made that. I've got 5 children, all of them homeschooled, and with a wife who has never worked a job. It's slightly mischaracterizing her, mildly, but pretty close. So a stay-at-home mother. Yeah. Now, I've always bought homes. I haven't rented. I have extinguished mortgages as fast as I possibly could. I had some financial help from my parents. Now that's going the other way quite a lot. And I had one windfall when I sold the house that I had purchased in Canada. It was my first home, and in Canada there is no capital gains tax on the first home sold. So I sold that house for double what I bought it. So that was a windfall. I pretty much chewed through that windfall though over time, so I'm probably going to have issues in the future. The point I'm making is I really do not believe what you're saying is even remotely accurate, even though it's absurdly popular. But the fact that a point is made very popularly does not mean, the point that a fact is... Mike, fix your brain. Sorry. the fact that something is said a lot doesn't make it true. And by true, I do not mean like statistically true or scientifically true. I mean principally true. There is almost certainly a way for you to be able to maintain a family, a small family in your case, because you won't be able to have large numbers by working alone. Almost certainly. Even in the rat race. Now, not in the food industry, but that's got to do more with your body than anything else. Also, in the food industry, why can't you be a manager if you have this much experience? I'm not really sure, right? So, I don't know what I'm talking about from that perspective. But anyway, I don't think you're right. I know everybody else will disagree with me, but I couldn't care less about what everybody else has to say. That's one of the advantages of being in the middle of your life with a little thumb theory over there. You don't really fuss about other people disagreeing with you. Couldn't care less. So,
150 grand a year to have a stay-at-home wife and to have kids and to be scraping by in the middle class.
There is no such thing as the middle class. Stop talking like a communist.
And when you start comparing, you just do the math and you start assembling lists of how to make 150 grand while having an injury that prevents you from working labor jobs. Without
labor jobs don't get you to 150 grand in any scenario, and you know this.
Having a technical degree, and without having an entrepreneurial path. I don't own a business or anything, and I don't have any plans on buying or starting a business anytime soon.
Well, I mean, there's a detail here. You have never once explained to us why you've been laid off 4 times. We're just assuming that basically you've been laid off because of circumstance, right? I mean, I don't really care about this. There's also another element that bothers me about what you're saying, which is you're saying that you had amazing investments and you had great returns and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, if that is the case, then pray tell, where are these investments? Can you not start extracting money from them a little bit? Because I had investments as well, and I did have to tap into them in order to carry on. Or what are you saving for when you're 75 or something? I mean, vaguely reasonable, but you know, you have a life now, so I'm not really sure.
There really aren't a lot of paths forward. And the irony about investing is that it radically changed my life, but because I've never had any life-changing investments, you know, I'll have like a 3x or a 5x or a 7x every now and then, but I don't have any Dogecoin like 100x. I don't have any Bitcoin 1000x or Nvidia 10,000x. Those are the types of investments that move you from the middle class to the upper class, or move you from the middle class to retirement, early.
And what you're saying, my young friend, is that you need to be in the upper class in order to have a family? I mean, I'm foreshadowing here. This is basically the point that he's going to make. I think he did touch on it, but yes. Now, what? He did mention the stay-at-home mother, right? You need to be upper class to have a family. What are you talking about? That is absurd. That is talking through pure cliches, just like the word rat race. Okay, if you say so. Plus, you've lived in China. It's definitely not true over there. So what's happening here? Something doesn't math, my friend.
Retirement. And the irony is, I am extremely financially comfortable by the standards of a single man. I could sell everything I own right now, and I could go live on a beach in Thailand for the next 20 years and never work another day and just drink myself to death. And there's part of me that wants to do that, but I want to have a...
Well, do me a favor then. That part of you, archive it. That's the kind of part that you should have when you are like 12, okay? You're not 12.
Family, so that feels like it's not an option. I mean, let's be real, it's not an option. If I want to bring children into this life and I want a functional, healthy household, I can't just go be a bum on the beach of Thailand.
I'll agree with you on this. There's one thing I want to touch on before you carry on, because this is where the important bit of the video happens. Now, I've already been half an hour through this, so nobody's ever going to watch this. But c'est la vie. You are now going to start talking about what you need to do in order to be a father, a successful father. And unfortunately, you do not have that experience. So quite a lot of what you'll say now is going to be a little bit stupid. Right? And it's fine. I mean, the thing that I'm hoping you realize eventually, and maybe you will see this response because you don't have that large of a channel, so there's a minor chance you will see it. You know, I'm just hoping that you will yield to experience to some extent and question your own mindset and how you think about things. But we'll see.
As much as I want to, that would be fucking awesome. Let's be real. And so
about as real as
I'm
you can
33 and I'm somehow doing better than all of my peers, and it still feels like I'm failing. And it's such a frustrating feeling.
It's not. You are failing at the most important aspect of your life.
And like I said, I've been winging it for the last 20 years. I mean, since the beginning of high school, I just decided I'm just going to roll with the punches, and I'm just going to wing it, and I'm just going to figure it out as I go, because I see all these people around me who are playing the official game. They're walking on the official path, and 99% of them are getting rammed up the ass. So I don't want to take that path. And
you need to listen to the words that come out of your mouth. You have just said that you look at your peers and you're better than them, but somehow you still think you're failing. Now, some of these peers presumably will have a family. So is getting rammed up to where the sun don't shine worth it for those people, potentially? Is that a concept? Or are all of the peers you're looking at pointless people? I'll look somewhere else in that case. I don't know what to tell you. But something doesn't work logically, right? You're unhappy is what you're saying. You're somehow doing better than everybody else. That's also what you're saying. But you want something. And some of the people that you're observing as being inferior to you may actually be achieving it. What's happening?
so instead of taking that path, I'm going to build my own path. I'm going to forge my own way. And the software industry is sort of where that dream went to die. With the time that I put into software, I could have mastered other skills. If I had spent that time playing the guitar, I would be an exceptional guitar player.
And how does that help you become a father? Outside of marshmallows and a fire.
If I had spent that time back in school, I could have gotten a master's degree in anything, trivially, with the same amount of effort and time invested.
Everything you're saying right now is talking about negative space possibility, and I don't disagree with that particular way of reasoning. That's actually correct. If you spend your time doing A, you don't do B, that's fine. But what you're implicitly implying, what you're implying is that if you took path B, things would have gone better. What makes you think, like, I guarantee to you that if you had become an amazing guitarist, I don't guarantee it, but I think it's very, very, very likely you would have been much more unemployable and unemployed than what you are right now. You may value that skill more, don't necessarily disagree. In fact, it's funny because I used to be a guitarist, not an amazing one, not even a good one, but good enough that I was on stages playing when I was much, much, much younger. And then eventually I gave up because I have other things I want to do instead. So I did the other route, and I also went in software, and software has always treated me fairly well. So I'm not really sure what you're saying. But, you know, you make decisions with your time. Regretting the decisions you've made is the quintessential waste of time.
And yet, for the thousands of hours, if I had to guess, I'd say probably somewhere between 5,000 to 10,000 hours in the 5 years that I was involved in the industry. These days, I only work on software when I personally want to work on something.
Same. Well,
That 5,000 to 10,000 hours gave me nothing as a result. I have software as a personal skill, but not at such a level where I can make things that are truly impressive.
But pray tell, aren't you complaining about the fact that you want to have a family? Why aren't you judging the previous time? Like, just because this decision that you have made, you said 5 years, right? So you've made when you were 27 or 28, right? So at the age of 27 or 28, we're gonna accept your theory that you made a decision that has financially hurt you a lot. Okay, fine, happens all the time. Why aren't you judging your previous time, where you were doing the passport bro in a different country? Why isn't that factoring in your poor decision making that led you to the point you're in now? I just think there would be a much more holistic way of looking at your, much more complete way of looking at your life story, so that you can then make decisions going forward.
I can make things that are functional. It's sort of like carpentry. I got into carpentry 5 years ago. I know enough carpentry that I can build a table for myself. It might not be a table that people are willing to pay $1,000 for, but it's more than functional enough for my purposes. I can build an application that suits some purpose in my life. It's not really good enough to sell, but you understand, you get the gist of what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And so there's a sort of a painful reality to how old I am, that to move forward in a practical sense would be to try to get back on the path, the objective that I feel like I just failed. I'm at least a year or two away from taking any significant step on that path. And then even then I would be starting a career that other people have been working in for 10 or 15 years before they started seeing real returns.
Yes.
So then if we look forward, what am I going to...
Now, Flower, do you see the advantage of the rat race? You are placing yourself in competition with people who are engaging with the rat race. And while you observing them from the outside are going like, look at these poor fools, they're getting rammed and all of that. But they are developing that long-term, slow-lasting career that allows them to have tenure in that particular position. That allows them, I mean, whether that's justified or not, that's open for debate. But at least for the purposes of now, what you are saying is that you, even if now you need to recover and you need to do something in order to recover this financial hole in which you've dug yourself in, that you've dug for yourself, you need to, compromise and reinvest in yourself, get some kind of skill, and then you need to enter this imaginary industry we're thinking about, competing with all of the people who have been there for a very, very long time. You need to be absolutely exceptional in order to be able to do that. You can't be a B+ student like me and you. You can't be you can't be 5,000 hours in your engineering job, because right now people who are getting laid off for company restructuring have 40,000 hours in their engineering jobs. They are obviously better than you in everything outside from the fact that they are older, right? So, I mean, the way you want to live in this entrepreneurial way, it will cause you to have less long-term stability. This is just how everything works. It's obvious because you've made different choices. You've just said that you have learned about carpentry. Brilliant, great hobby. But it's a hobby and you've accepted it. You're kind of saying that your engineering is also a bit of a hobby. Because you're an okay engineer, you're not great. Who would hire such a prospect? It's perfectly reasonable to me. No? Sorry.
I'm going to be 45 before I'm making any real money? That's not an option.
Well, you can't enter the rat race now. You're right. I mean, you can, but it's going to come at the cost of your life, as you just said.
I know that some people are okay with it, and I know that the red pill lies to men all the time and tells them that they don't have a wall. That's a lie. You have.
I agree. The red pill is a great place for men to stay away from evil women, of which there are many. But outside of that, it doesn't help anybody in anything. I really do not think the red pill movement is in any way helpful. You have a wall, everybody has a wall. Men are blinder to that wall than women are.
Have a wall. It might be 10 years further down the line than women, but 10 years goes by like that. So
now it does. When you were young, it didn't.
Let's not kid ourselves. We all have a wall and we're going to hit it. And so if I'm going to have kids, it needs to be within the next 5 years. I think I can stomach being 38 or maybe at the very latest 40 when I have my first kid.
Oh, beautiful. So that when that kid turns 18, yeah, they're going to have to deal with your sorry butt as you are starting to become, unable to function. The way people today talk about children irritates the living bejesus out of me. You do realize that child is a person. Yeah? You have responsibility towards this individual. This is an individual, like you and me, a person, yeah? Talking, doing things, having their own aspirations and goals. No, never mind, need to deal with my geriatric parents because they decided to have children because they were feeling guilty about their life being meaningless. My parents have been making terrible decisions for the past, for the previous 40 years. Then they decided to give birth to me, and now that they are 65, while I'm 25, desperately trying to build my own future, I need to deal with their sorry butt. I'm young enough, I think that by the age of 40, if I have my first kid by the age of 40, it'll be fine. I had my last kid by the age of 38, mate. That's my 5th. My oldest child, and I'm 40 right now, I think I'm about to turn 40. Am I 41? I might be 41. I don't know. I never check. I think I'm 41. Anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, my oldest child is, she's going to become an adult, legally speaking, whatever that means, in 3 years. You talk about children like friggin' milestone, like items. These are people, man. Okay? The issue is this. Your time to have a child is 10 years ago. Your time to have a child is now, and it's pretty much the latest. On top of it, it's going to be the only one, or there's a very good chance that it's going to be the only one. Okay? Which means they are going to this child is going to have to deal with you and your wife, girlfriend, lodger, whatever you decide to do. Okay? As you're aging, alone. If you then add another, at least they're going to help each other, and that's fine. Now, can you make children and make it work? Absolutely. Absolutely you can. Absolutely. You can. It's possible. But, just consider this. These are people, man. These are not only people, the most important people you will ever meet. You'll see them as they enter existence for the first time. And then you'll accompany them hopefully, if you're not an immoral piece of garbage, you'll accompany them along the way as they become bigger and bigger and they become your size eventually. So yeah, think about it. 40 is serious. And you talked about back injury. Your back injury ain't getting better. By the time you're 60, your back injury is going to be serious. Will you have a hump? I don't know. Will you be in a wheelchair? I don't know. But if you are, is this right to little John or little Joanne?
Because I'm thinking forward, I'm thinking... Sorry. I'm thinking,
Hashtag
I'm going to be
COVID.
70 when the kid's 30.
Yes.
More importantly, I'm going to be 50 when the kid's 10 years old. How the fuck is 50-year-old me going to keep up with a 10-year-old?
Exactly right. I'm very appreciative of you being able to do math and to be, thank goodness, men are reasonable like you. Well done. Exactly. How do you do that? Because I'll tell you what the wall for a man looks like. Okay? You know that ball that's over there? That your child is very happy to scamper and go get and then come back? The ball that's over there. You just don't run after that ball. You know what you do? You do this. You do this uncommitted jog, and you realize that that's what you do, and you go like, "What's going on? I can run. I can outrun all of my children right now. I'm pretty sure." I mean, LeBron James is 40. He's jumping about all over the place. Surely I can run. And then you go like, "Oh yeah, I can run," and then you can sprint over there. And you go like, "But why didn't I want to? Didn't I want to run?" I don't know. That's the wall. That's the wall for men. That's what happens.
33-year-old me would struggle to do it. I go and hang out with my brother and his kids, and it's maximum exertion just to keep up with them for like 3 days. At the end of the 3 days, I'm exhausted.
Well, I mean, you're all bad parents then, okay? My children behave. Otherwise, the smack fairy visits. Ooh, I'm not supposed to say that on the internet, am I? No, I mean, jokes aside, my children don't exhaust me. It would be absolutely mental. I got 5 of them, so they all need to be well behaved. You can control this to some extent. I mean, children are very highly energetic, there's no question about that. But energetic does not translate into pain in the backside. So, just a little aside there.
And to get a little bit more selfish and a little bit more grounded, because children are such an ephemeral idea and nobody feels like they're ready. And
I'm afraid they're not an ephemeral idea, they're very much a tangible one. But yes, nobody feels like they're ready, and
everybody sort of rises to the occasion. 99% of kids throughout human history were not planned. This concept of planning children and being ready for children is a completely modern fabrication.
Oh! Everybody listen to this man! He said the correct thing. In stark contrast to all of the experts that I've reacted to before, you know, you need to plan a child and this and that and the other, and you need this resource and that. No, you don't. Loads of children are conceived in cars, right? This is ridiculous. Absolutely bang on correct. I mean, even when you plan, what we mean by plan is, the problem is always Orwellian, is taking words and messing with them. What we mean by plan is very simple, is having an intention of doing that. Of going intentionally raw, that sort of thing. Right? That's the plan, really. There's no meaningful plan. I mean, you are prepared-ish. You want to have some vague level of stability in your life, which sounds like you've already achieved or you had achieved. So,
something much more grounded. I've had the dream of building my own home since I was a child. When I was a tiny, tiny child, I used to bring blueprints to my parents. I would take pieces of paper and I would sketch out designs for houses. And I wanted to always live in a castle, obviously, because I was a kid. And I would bring these to my parents, and I'm like, I'm going to build this shit. And
I'm reasonably confident that's not what you said to them. Otherwise, the smack fairy would have visited you as well. It was a different time, wasn't it?
That's actually the primary reason I came back from China, because I had all this money from extremely successful investing. I grew my portfolio about 1,400% in those 4 years in China. So I came back from China. I was going to buy a big plot of land and start building a house. And then COVID hit, and the price of land spiked 10x, and you know, it became a thing where you could buy beautiful land for $500 an acre before COVID. And when I say beautiful, I mean it has a view, it has running water, it has road frontage, it has it borders national or state parks, you know, for the purpose of your neighbors not being developed, for $500 an acre. Today, you're lucky to find something for $5,000 an acre that has none of those benefits.
Well, Flower, I have, during COVID, so in 2000 and whatever the heck it was, 21 I think, I purchased a home in the country I live in, which is in Europe, in the sunny bits of Europe. It's got a forest in front of it. It's got a creek in front of it. I am reasonably confident to have a creek or river running under my house. I have 3 wells. I don't have a lot of land because I don't need a lot of land. I've got a 4-car garage. I've got and it's not a modern house. Let's be clear about this. It's a multiple times renovated ancient house. I've got loads of fruit trees. The one orange tree that we have today, in front of our yard, got us going for the whole of winter. It's fed us all fruit. Not sprayed, nothing. All pure, so it's got lovely worms inside every now and then. You get to eat a little bit extra protein. That sort of thing. How many olive trees do I have? 18, something like that. So we make our own oil a little bit. Not a lot, but it's some. We got a fig tree, 2 fig trees. They're both amazing. Loads of figs you can eat to your heart's content. We grow some of our crops. This year we're going to buy chickens, hopefully. Yeah? I paid 130,000 euros for this house. I didn't build it. I'll grant you that. So I don't know what you're on about. But the world is a big place. You can go to a lot of places and find people of similar culture to you to build a future with. So, bit of a false argument, I suspect.
You're just lucky if you're not downwind from a pig farm. The market is fucked.
To be fair, I am downwind of a... not downwind. I'm not. But I'm very near horse stables. So there's quite a lot of smelly welly sometimes. Also, you need to do it with your own septic tank, so that's fun.
So, the abandonment of that dream is something I still haven't accepted. I haven't accepted psychologically that I'm probably not going to get to build my own house. Because land still exists, but it's land that I don't want to live on. I could still build a house, but...
Listen, you need the red pill yourself. Okay? You know how the red pillers say to women as they hit the wall, their standards for what man they want needs to go down? Well, your standard for what you damn want from your life, as somebody who has lived the wrong for the past several decades, needs to change. Okay? You either give up on your dreams or you resize your dreams in a way that you can actually achieve them. Do you want to build a house? Brilliant. Why would you? You don't have a family. What's the damn point? That's why you have never built a house. You will build a house the moment in which you have a reason to build that house. In order to give yourself that reason, you need to inject meaning into your life. The easiest vector for meaning in life for a man is a family. The fact that for all of your life you have avoided, quote unquote, the rat race, which is the easiest vector to lead to a family because of false propaganda or whatever else, or your lack of reasoning, is now your problem to deal with. You can keep on arguing, oh yes, but I don't want this, yeah, but I want this, but I don't. You sound like a freaking toddler. Right? You've got 2 options here. Keep not choosing anything meaningful. Option A. Option B, choose something meaningful. If you're going to choose something meaningful, get ready. Because life is not going to be what you think. You've done the life that you thought would lead you to where you wanted to be. Wrong. Nothing wrong with the investments. That's great. Keep making them. But do you want a family or no? If you do, well then chase that. Where the family happens, on which plot of land, whether it's got pigsties nearby or no, irrelevant. Whether it's an apartment or no, irrelevant. What matters is the family. Will you be able to build a home? Maybe. But that's B, right? A home is only built if you need it. Suppose that you have a Mazda MX-5 because it's fun and you like it, right? Why would you replace it with a 7-seater Toyota Previa? Is it 7 or 6? I'm not sure, right? You wouldn't. You don't have anyone to carry it in it, right?
But it's going to cost 5 or 10 times more than it should have cost.
Doesn't matter.
And I'm going to have to accept a lower quality of life.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if realizing the dream is worth it if the result of the dream is not something that I want. Does that make sense?
It does. You can keep staying stuck in this mindset eternally if you like. Or you could wing it.
And so this all comes back to age as well. When I was 23, I left for China. And at 23, I felt like I had all the time in the world. And the notion of building a house...
23? At 24, I had my first kid, man. At 22, I was already married. 21, I think.
It's always been sort of a 24-month plan. And I think it still is now, even at this age.
Thank goodness for the plans.
You know, all the stars aligned financially and the opportunity for the land, everything aligned. I think I could buy a property today and I could have a home that's livable that I built myself within 24 months. However, I'm now at the age where every year that goes by, that goal is radically more difficult to achieve because I'm not as young and energetic as I once was. And the opportunity cost of putting everything else in my life on hold for 2 years while I build a house, the opportunity cost spirals out of control.
I mean, listen, you've gone down this entire routine here. I'm going to cut to the chase because this video is almost an hour long and I don't think anybody wants to bother about this. I've already said, the reason why you're not building a home, it's not because of opportunity costs or this or that or the other. It's because it's an entirely baseless desire. It's a desire that doesn't have any point. Okay? Here's what you do now. If you'll ever watch this, you can be angry at me. That's okay. I don't really care. You can think I'm an idiot. Go ahead. But here's what you do. The first thing you do, because I think later in the video you're going to be mentioning the fact that you have a girlfriend, but then you're talking about how you want to go back to Bangkok to make some money, then come back and find another woman that you're confident you could do this. First of all, that's rubbish. You are way less attractive to anyone by the age of 40. So, whatever the case may be, here's what you do right now. The first thing that you do is you completely review what you want, right? You change your mindset about what you want. What you want is a family with children now. That implies changing your mentality about loads of things. Okay? You are not going to be the center of your own life. You're not going to be the primary goal of your own life. You are now building stupid cats in heat outside. Sorry. You are now going to be interested in building something bigger than yourself, which isn't made out of bricks. It's made out of bones and flesh and a mind. Then what you will do is you will realize that you do not want to send any of the children to school because of the rat race. What you want to do is you want for your children to be educated by you. You said you're even an educator, so that should be easier for you, right? Probably you will have to work, and you will have to work constantly and consistently. And put all of your hobbies aside, right? Because what you will be doing is your hobby now is the child project. Step number 1, find a woman. She needs to be worth it. She needs to work. Work not in the sense of labor. She needs to work in the sense that she needs to have the same mentality as yourself. Okay, and she needs to be trustworthy. Best of luck with that. I have no idea how you'll do that at your age. Number 2, what you do is you immediately make it plain. This is your intent. Work towards that intent. Work together towards that intent. Okay? Be on the same page on everything. Never let any argument slide until it's resolved. Okay? And maybe, just maybe, you have a small inkling of a sliver of chance that you may be able to actually build something out of yourself that is meaningful. You are very, very late on schedule. And bad decisions we pay for. I'm going to leave you with this anecdote. When I was looking for a home for my dad, I went to several. One of them that I visited was being visited at the same time by this old lady. And this old lady started talking to me and my wife as we were waiting for her turn to talk to the head doctor of the place. And she started telling us about how she's checking herself in. Because unfortunately she has no children and well, this is the best for her. That was one of the loneliest, saddest things I have ever seen. You are headed directly for this yourself. Now, as a man, I think you're going to be more capable of living alone, but it's not a great fate. Sorry. So, yeah, I like you. I think you are, you have your head more or less in the right place. But there's, you got to get serious about this. So, best of luck to you and to anybody else who finds himself in such a situation. Please evaluate how you spend your time and what you want to build before you poo-poo on the rat race and how the previous generation has done it. Because while the previous generation, the generation of our parents, the boomers, you may have contempt for because they've only made one child and really late, and that's accurate, generally speaking, right? You know, it is now on your shoulders. It's our generation now. I think the millennials, right? I mean, we're already late. We need to start rebuilding this civilization by making people ideally that we don't dislike. So there's more to react in this video, but I don't want the video to be too long. So goodbye.